My name is Daniel Mercer. I'm 42 years old, and for most of my adult life I believed I had everything a man could reasonably ask for: a stable job, a peaceful home, a woman I loved more than anything, and a future that seemed predictable in the best possible way. I grew up in a small town in Oregon but eventually settled in Seattle, where I built a life that looked solid from the outside. I thought I'd outgrown the chaos of my 20s, the uncertainty, the heartbreaks. When I met Claire, I was convinced life had finally given me its apology for every mistake I'd made before her. Claire. She walked into my world like sunlight breaking through a fogged window. Gentle voice, bright mind, a quiet confidence that made me want to be better than I was. She was 30 when we met, 8 years younger than me, working in marketing at a tech firm, ambitious, focused, charming in a way that didn't demand attention but attracted it anyway. I fell for her slowly at first, and then all at once. Within a year we were living together. Within 3 we were married. I thought she was my answer, my home, the one person whose presence settled every restless part inside me. I was wrong. And I didn't know how wrong until the night everything cracked open. If someone had told me that a single phone notification, one sound, one vibration could dismantle a life built over years, I would have laughed. But that's exactly how it happened. One moment of curiosity, one glance at a screen that wasn't mine to look at, and suddenly every certainty I'd held onto dissolved like paper in water. It was late, close to midnight. Claire had fallen asleep on the couch, curled under a blanket, the TV still humming low. I'd come home late from a long shift, exhausted but relieved to see her there. When her phone lit up on the coffee table, I didn't mean to check it. I really didn't, but the preview text was right there, bright against the dark screen. Can't stop thinking about earlier. You're amazing. No name. Just a number. My chest tightened, but my mind tried to rationalize it. A coworker, a friend, someone she was helping with something. Claire was thoughtful. Kind people often told her things. It didn't have to mean anything, right? But then it buzzed again. Wish we had more time alone today. Next week, same place. There are moments in life when your body understands the truth before your mind allows itself to accept it. My hands went cold. My jaw locked. I felt my heart beat in my throat, pounding so violently that I could barely swallow. I picked up the phone. I didn't want to. I shouldn't have. But the moment the screen unlocked, because I knew her passcode, she'd trusted me with it, my world tipped. There they were, messages. Dozens of them. Weeks worth, conversations filled with flirtation, with intimacy, with familiarity that no man ever wants to see his wife share with someone else. Plans, memories, jokes I didn't understand, and photos nothing explicit, but too close, too playful, too intentional. The name attached to the number was someone I recognized instantly. Ethan Hale, the coworker she had mentioned casually for months. The one she said was just a friend, the one she said she admired for his creativity, the one she laughed with a little too freely. And suddenly, everything made sense. The overtime she claimed she had. The days she came home quietly euphoric. The nights she seemed distant. The way she pulled her phone slightly closer whenever I walked by. There's a specific kind of silence that comes with betrayal. It's heavy, but thin. Cold, but burning. It doesn't scream. It suffocates. I sat there staring at the messages while Claire slept peacefully on the couch, completely unaware that the world she thought she had carefully balanced was collapsing right behind her. I didn't wake her. I didn't yell. I didn't even cry. Instead, I got up, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of water with hands that barely felt like my own. I stood there, breathing slowly, trying to steady the storm inside me. But the thing about storms is they don't ask for permission. A strange calm washed over me. Not acceptance, not forgiveness. Something else? Something colder. I realized with startling clarity that the way I looked at my wife, my partner, had changed forever in the span of 20 minutes. I walked back to her and watched her for a moment. The woman I had chosen. The woman who promised loyalty, love, transparency. The woman who had convinced me she was incapable of hurting anyone, let alone me. And there she was, sleeping like nothing was wrong. My heart didn't break in one dramatic shatter. It fractured quietly, piece by piece, like thin glass splintering under pressure. I didn't confront her. Not then. Not in the morning. Not the day after. Instead, I acted normal. I smiled when she smiled, responded when she spoke, pretended I didn't see how quickly she grabbed her phone every time it buzzed. I watched her lie to me with practiced ease, watched her eyes shift with guilt she tried to hide. And all the while, something deep inside me hardened, because I wasn't going to wait for her confession. I wasn't going to beg for honesty she had already thrown away. If she thought she could tear my life apart in secret, she had no idea what I was capable of doing in silence. I woke up the next morning with the kind of heaviness in my chest you can't shake off with coffee or cold water on your face. That heaviness that whispers you're missing something, that something is being hidden from you. I stared at the empty side of the bed. Emily had left early, or at least, that's what she said in the note she left on the kitchen counter. Went to the clinic early. Don't wait for me. Her handwriting was rushed, slanted, not like her. But I forced myself not to think too much. People have bad days, tension happens, arguments happen. Even though the argument last night felt different, it felt like a door had closed, and I didn't know why. At 11 a.m., I finally called her. No answer. Tried again. No answer. Sent a message. No reply. And yet, her phone was online. The indicator in our shared location app showed she was at the clinic. But I also knew how easily that could be faked. One tap, and location stops updating. I knew because a year ago I had accidentally done it myself for an entire day. Around noon, I decided to bring her lunch. It sounded like a supportive gesture, but truthfully, it was an excuse to see her face. The clinic lobby was half empty. The receptionist looked up with a polite smile. "Hi, is Emily available?" She frowned thoughtfully. "Emily, she hasn't been in today." The words hit me harder than I expected. "Are you sure?" "Yes." She checked the attendance sheet. She wasn't scheduled for today at all. That was it. That moment. That tiny moment when suspicion crawled under my skin and dug deep. I stood there with a bag of lunch turning cold in my hand, while my heartbeat grew heavier. She lied. Not a misunderstanding, not a forgotten schedule. A lie. I went outside, sat in the car, and didn't start the engine. I kept replaying the last weeks. Little things she did, things I hadn't noticed because I trusted her blindly. The late-night emergency shifts, her phone constantly face down. The extra makeup on days she claimed she was exhausted. The sudden distance. It added up only when you let your mind admit the possibility you've been denying. Still, I wasn't ready to accuse her. I wasn't ready to destroy what we had. Not yet. At home, I waited. Hours passed. I tried reading, working, fixing the broken cabinet door, anything to distract from the growing storm inside me. But the more I tried, the more everything came back to one question. Where was she? At 6:41 p.m., the door finally opened. Emily walked in slowly, like someone careful not to wake a sleeping dog. "Oh, you're home," she murmured. Her hair was messier than usual, but not work messy. Her lipstick was faded, but not clinic faded. Her whole posture screamed she didn't expect me to be here. "I brought lunch to the clinic," I said calmly. A flash of shock crossed her eyes before she controlled it. "You didn't have to. They said you weren't scheduled today." Her throat moved in a small swallow. "Oh?" I switched shifts, without telling me. She shrugged. "I didn't think it mattered." But it did matter. Everything mattered. Every little detail. I watched her walk past me, pretending to be unbothered, but I could see it, the tension in her neck, the way her fingers shook when she reached for a glass in the kitchen. She wasn't calm. She wasn't neutral. She was scared. "Emily," I said, slowly approaching her. "Just tell me where you were." She gripped the countertop. "Why are you interrogating me?" "Because you lied." She turned to me sharply. I don't need to report my every step to you. That's not what I want. I just want the truth." Her voice cracked slightly. "I was with a friend." "Which friend?" Her eyes darted down. "You don't know them." Lie? Clear, obvious, careless lie. I felt something inside me shift, a piece of trust falling out of place and breaking on the floor. I took a deep breath. "Emily, are you seeing someone?" She stared at me, frozen, almost offended, but her silence only confirmed what her eyes were too afraid to say. "No," she finally whispered. "But if you keep acting like this, you're going to push me away." "Push her away." I laughed, but not out of humor. It was the laugh of a man who realizes the knife had been in his back long before he felt it. "I'm already losing you," I said softly. Emily's jaw tightened. "You're imagining things." But I wasn't. That night, she went to sleep early on the farthest edge of the bed, her back turned to me. No kiss. No good night, not even a glance. And I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing with painful clarity that something was breaking. And breakage doesn't happen suddenly. It happens slowly, then all at once. I didn't know it then, but the truth wasn't just worse than I imagined. It was something she'd planned long before I even noticed the distance between us. And the next day, I was going to find the first piece of proof. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily's expression, not guilty, not confused, not angry, just distant. Like someone who already lived another life behind my back. By morning, something in me had changed. It wasn't rage. It wasn't heartbreak. It was clarity. The kind that comes only when denial finally dies. I needed the truth. Not guesses. Not assumptions. Real proof. Ironically, Emily left for another shift. She didn't kiss me goodbye. She didn't even look me in the eye. As soon as the door clicked shut, I grabbed my keys. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do. But betrayal changes the rules whether you want it to or not. I started with something simple, the car. Emily always left it in the garage when she rode with coworkers, but lately she'd been taking it more often than usual. Maybe because it gave her freedom. Maybe because she thought I wouldn't look too closely. I opened the driver's door, leaned in and immediately noticed the scent. Not perfume. Cologne. Not mine. A sharper, more aggressive fragrance that didn't belong in our car. Not unless someone else had been sitting inside. Someone close enough, often enough, to leave traces behind. My stomach tightened. I checked the seat adjustment. It was off by 3 notches, lower, farther back. Someone taller had driven it. My hands shook as I reached for the center console. Inside were napkins, a pen, an old parking pass. Nothing unusual. Then I opened the small side compartment. A receipt, dated yesterday, 2 iced coffees, 1 strawberry tart, 1 table number. A cafe across town, the one she always said was too far, too crowded, too expensive. Exactly the place she'd avoid with me. And the timestamp, 11:27 a.m. the same time she told me she was in the clinic. I stared at the receipt so long the numbers blurred. It wasn't even the worst possible evidence, but it was enough to crush the last piece of hope I'd held on to. Because Emily hated iced coffee. She always said it made her hands cold. She would never order it for herself. I sat back, breathing hard, trying to calm the storm rising inside me. I wasn't angry, not yet. Anger is simple, explosive, quick. What I felt was slower, heavier, like sinking into deep water where everything is muffled and numb. This was just the beginning. I drove to the cafe. Not to confront her, she wasn't there. But I needed to see it. I needed to visualize the chair where she sat across from someone else. Smiling, laughing, sharing pieces of her life that used to be mine. The place was small, warm, cozy. The kind of space where conversations sound softer, where secrets feel safe. The barista greeted me with a casual smile. "Back so soon?" My pulse skipped. "What do you mean?" She nodded toward the seating area. "You were here yesterday, right?" I swallowed. Did I come alone?" She laughed lightly. "No, you were with a woman. Red scarf, long hair. You two look cute together. A red scarf. Emily didn't own one, but she had borrowed one last week, or so she told me. Right? I managed, forcing a smile even though my chest felt like it was caving in. Thanks. I left before she could say anything else. The cool air outside hit me like a slap, waking me from the fog. My thoughts tangled, unraveled, tangled again. So she wasn't just lying. She was comfortable enough with him to bring him to a place where she could be recognized. Comfortable enough to let someone think they were a couple. That's what broke me the most. Not the betrayal itself, but how easy she made it look. I drove aimlessly for almost an hour before ending up at the beach, the same beach where Emily and I used to walk when we first met. Back then, she would cling to my arm, resting her head against me as if I was the safest place in the world. Now I felt like a stranger living in my own life. I sat on the sand, watched the water move in slow, rhythmic waves, and wondered when everything had really started falling apart. Not yesterday, not last week, earlier, much earlier. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Emily, working late. Don't wait for me. Working late. Another lie. Another rehearsed line. Something inside me snapped, quietly, almost gently, like a thread finally breaking after being stretched too thin. I typed back, okay, but inside, I was done being blind. On the way home, I made a choice, one I never thought I'd have to make. If Emily was going to keep lying, I was going to start watching, not obsessively, not desperately, logically. It wasn't revenge. It was preparation, because a man deserves to know the truth about the life he is living, even if that truth destroys him. That evening, I placed a small voice recorder under the passenger seat, one she never touched. Then I set up a discreet location log for her car, something she wouldn't notice. I wasn't proud of it, but love had already turned into survival. And deep down I knew tomorrow, the truth was going to get much uglier. I woke up the next morning with the kind of heaviness that settles deep in your bones, the kind that tells you something irreversible is coming. Emily was already gone. Again, no note, no message. Not even the faint smell of her shampoo lingering in the bathroom. It was strange how quickly absence becomes normal. I made coffee I didn't want, sat at the kitchen table I used to love, and stared at the voice recorder in my hand. A simple device, cheap, small, innocent, but today it felt like a weapon. I plugged it into my computer. The time-stamped file popped up. 9 hours and 14 minutes of audio. My fingers trembled as I clicked play. For the first 20 minutes, there was nothing, just the hum of traffic, the shifting of fabric, her keys clinking. Normal sounds, familiar sounds, sounds that did absolutely nothing to prepare me for what came next. The car door opened, a man's voice. Emily, her voice soft, warm, unrecognizable in its tenderness. You're late. Then laughter, not just any laugh, the kind she used to save for me back when I still mattered. I froze. His voice was younger, smoother, confident. Not a stranger. Not anymore. Ugh, you wouldn't believe the morning I've had, he said. That meeting was a disaster. That's because you're too good for that place, Emily replied. They don't appreciate you. I felt my jaw tighten. She never said anything like that to me. Not even close. The audio continued, muffled for a moment, as the engine started. How's he doing? The man asked. He, me, no name. Just he. She sighed. Sane, coolest, a stab straight to the chest. Do you feel guilty? He asked. No, she said without hesitation. Not really. I mean, I tried. I really tried. But Mark, he's boring now, predictable. I don't feel anything with him anymore. Predictable. Boring. My hands tightened into fists so hard my nails cut into my palms. The man laughed under his breath. Well, you feel something with me? I do, she whispered. You know that. Silence followed. Not real silence. The kind filled with breath and movement and tension. The kind that tells you everything even when nothing is said. Then the sound of kissing. Long, slow, comfortable. My stomach twisted. I paused the recording and stared at the wall, trying to breathe through the nausea. It felt like someone had reached inside my chest and twisted everything I'd ever loved into something grotesque. But I wasn't done. I needed all of it. I pressed play again. "You think he suspects anything?" the man asked eventually. "No," Emily said confidently. "He trusts me too much. That's the problem. He thinks I'm some sweet little housewife who couldn't hurt a fly." They both laughed. "I'm just glad you finally decided to move forward," the man said. "It was getting hard pretending we're just coworkers." "Mark and I are basically over," she replied. "He just doesn't know it yet." Another silence. Then she added, "Give me a few weeks. I'll figure out how to leave without drama." My vision blurred. Without drama. After 10 years together. Just walk away. The rest of the recording was full of flirtation, plans for the weekend, inside jokes, small touches of cruelty disguised as affection. Every minute was another blade. Every second was another confirmation that Emily wasn't mine anymore, and hadn't been for a long time. By the time the file ended, the sun was high and my coffee was cold. I sat there for almost 10 minutes, motionless, numb, hollowed out completely. There's a moment in betrayal when heartbreak transforms into something else, not rage, not despair, but clarity. I finally understood who she really was. And I finally understood what I had to do. The car location log showed something interesting. She wasn't at the hospital. She'd parked behind an office complex on the other side of town. A place with tinted windows and rented co-working spaces. A perfect hiding place. I grabbed my jacket, my phone, and the USB with the recording. Not to confront her, not yet. I needed more proof, more details, more leverage. Because Emily wasn't planning to break up with me honestly. She was planning to discard me quietly. And I wasn't going to make it that easy. As I stepped outside, locking the door behind me, something inside me shifted. A new mindset. A colder one. She thought I was predictable. She thought I was weak. She thought I wouldn't fight back. She was wrong, very wrong. I didn't sleep the night after listening to the recording. Not a second. Not because of pain. That part had burned through me already, but because of focus. Sharp, concentrated, dangerous focus. By sunrise, I had a plan. Not revenge. Not violence. Something worse. Truth. The kind that tears people apart from the inside. I started with what I knew. The office complex where Emily and her coworker, her lover, had spent so many extended shifts together. A place nobody would question her being at. A place far away from anyone who might recognize her. I drove there around noon. The parking lot was half empty, heat rising off the asphalt in waves. Her car was there, same spot as the GPS log. My chest tightened when I saw it, but I forced myself to stay steady. Emotion wouldn't help me now. I walked inside the building like I belonged there. People rarely question a man who looks like he knows where he's going. I rode the elevator to the 3rd floor, where the co-working offices were, and started scanning through the frosted glass doors, looking for any sign of them. Then I heard her voice, soft, familiar, followed by the man's voice, "Jake." I'd guessed it was him from the recording, but hearing it in person removed any doubt. They were in an office with the door slightly open. I approached without making a sound. What I saw inside felt like a punch to the ribs. They were sitting close, too close, their knees almost touching, his hand on her thigh. She was smiling in that way I used to think was meant only for me. Casual intimacy, comfort, confidence. She didn't look like someone who was planning a breakup. She looked like someone who had already moved on. I recorded a 30-second video. Not because I needed more proof, but because I wanted to watch their worlds explode in high definition. When I stepped away, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't crying. I was calm. And that scared me. I didn't go home. Not yet. I drove to the hospital where she supposedly worked that day and asked for her by name. The receptionist checked the schedule. "Emily Grant? She's not on shift today. Actually, she hasn't worked the last 2 Thursdays." Exactly what I needed to hear. The final piece. I got home minutes before she did. When I heard the front door open, my heart didn't race the way it used to. No warm feeling. No smile pulling at my face automatically. Just emptiness. She walked into the kitchen with a fake sigh, dropping her bag onto a chair. "What a day," she said. "I swear, these double shifts are going to kill me." I watched her carefully. She didn't even flinch. The lies flowed out of her like breath. "Emily," I said quietly, "sit down." She frowned. "Why? What's wrong?" "Sit." She hesitated, maybe sensing the edge in my voice. Finally, she pulled out a chair and sat across from me. I took out the USB drive and placed it on the table. Then the printed GPS logs. Then the photo of her car parked at the office building. Her face changed instantly. Not guilt, calculation. A predator assessing the damage. "What is this supposed to be?" she asked. "You know exactly what it is," she exhaled, slow and controlled. "Mark, don't do this, please." I connected the voice recorder to the small speaker on the counter and pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Her laughter. Her words. Every betrayal. Every detail. She froze. Jake's voice joined hers, and that's when the panic hit her eyes. Pure panic. Not because she regretted it. Because she got caught. "Turn it off," she whispered. I didn't turn it off. I stopped the audio only when she lunged toward the speaker. She looked like a cornered animal, breathing fast, shaking her head. "This isn't what it sounds like," she said. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity of it was almost beautiful. She reached for the recorder, but I grabbed it first. "You plan to leave," I said. "You plan to replace me quietly. You plan to pretend you tried. Mark, you plan to make me regret loving you." Her eyes filled with tears, but I saw them for what they were, a tactic, nothing more. I opened my laptop and played the 30-second video from the co-working office, the one where she and Jake looked like a couple who'd known each other for years. When she saw it, her shoulders collapsed. "Did you tell him?" she whispered. "No," I said, "but I will." Her face drained of color. "You wouldn't." "Oh, I would," I said calmly. "And I'm not just telling him. I'm sending the recording to HR at your hospital, and to his company, and to his wife." She covered her mouth with her hands. "Mark, please." "Why?" "You didn't hesitate to destroy me." "I didn't destroy you." I was confused. "You were bored." She froze, because that was the truth she couldn't deny. I leaned in, lowering my voice. "You should have left me honestly. You should have talked to me. You should have respected me enough to end it clean." Her breathing was uneven now. "We can fix this, please." "I'll stop seeing him." "You already did," I said. "It's over." She reached for my arm, but I pulled away as if she burned me. "I loved you," I said. "More than I should have. More than you ever deserved." Double quote silence. Then I pushed a folder across the table. Her divorce papers. Her eyes widened. "You already?" "Yes. But my job, my reputation, that's your problem, not mine." I stood up, walked past her, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. "Mark?" she screamed after me. "Mark, please." I didn't turn around. For the first time in years, her voice meant nothing. That night, I sent everything to everyone. The audio, the video, the logs. Every truth she tried to bury. Jake called me 3 times. I didn't answer. His wife sent one message. "Thank you." Emily didn't come home. I didn't care. Sometimes revenge isn't fire. It isn't violence. It isn't rage. Sometimes revenge is quiet, cold, surgical. Sometimes revenge is simply telling the truth and letting it burn everything that deserves to burn.